Morning, everybody. Sorry, just a quick announcement. There's a car outside. It's a black Opel 151C7102. You're in danger of your car being towed. So if that's your car, we'd appreciate if you'd move it as quickly as possible. Thank you. Morning, everybody. You are very welcome to Graduation 2022. As you can see from the room here, we have a big crowd graduating today, so this is going to be a good 2-hour ceremony, so prepare yourselves. We have a lot of celebrating to do this morning. A chéimethe is a gcuoine úsla ar cheanna choláiste bhfuil fíorchaoin fáilte a chur roimh ilig an seo maidin inniu. Agus tásúlagam go mhuinig sibh ilig tanmh agus sósamh as an ócáid speisialta seo. Good morning, graduates and guests. You're very welcome. Today is the day you finally walk up on the podium and get your parchment. So congratulations to you. We all know that it takes a huge amount of work to get to this day. For this group, I think, who did part of their studies, at least during the pandemic, it probably took extra work and extra challenges. So I think it's really important that everyone takes a moment today to acknowledge their achievement. Of course, graduation day is not just about the graduates, it's about families, friends, parents, partners, children, all the cheerleaders behind the person who walks up on the podium. So it's a day for you as well. Thank God it's not raining, the sun is shining, it's a beautiful autumn day, so I'd like to wish you really the best for this day. My name is Professor Niamh Horrigan. I'm Vice President of Academic Affairs and I'll be the Master of Ceremonies today. I have the great pleasure of welcoming you here this morning. Graduation for this college, for our college, is the pinnacle of the academic year. It's a really special day for us. And we are celebrating your accomplishments, the achievements of our graduating students, and we're enormously proud of you. We're delighted to resume our traditional ceremonies following the pandemic. During the pandemic, we did have graduation, but we only had the graduates in the room. So it's great to see the cheerleaders and the support teams back here with us. We have a huge demand for the ceremony today. We have 2 overflow rooms in the college live streaming the event. They're in TN1, which is in this building, and T118 in the Tara building. So a big welcome to everybody who is there watching this morning. The formal proceedings will commence shortly, and I'd like to begin by highlighting a couple of things. First of all, we're required to adhere to health and safety, obviously, particularly with the large crowd we have here today. So please take notice of the exit close to you should the venue need to be evacuated in the event of a fire alarm activation. MIC has engaged the services of press photographers for the purposes of these conferring ceremonies. We often get lovely pictures in the papers because it's a happy, joyful occasion. These photographs will be used for press and promotional purposes on behalf of MIC. If you do not wish for your photograph to be taken for this purpose, please make this known to the photographer in question. They can be identified by their official MIC press photographer lanyard. If you wish to avail of a professional photograph of you and your family following the ceremony, Lafayette Photography is situated on the second and third floors of the Tara building. We also have a framing service if you'd like to frame your parchment here today, and that's on site in Tara. The proceedings will start with the academic procession, so please stand when the music commences and remain standing. I will gesture to you to sit down when the processing party have arrived on the podium. There'll be an opening blessing followed by the formal convening of the ceremony and an address of welcome from the chairperson of MIC's governing authority. The presentation of parchments, awards and prizes will be made. The presidents of both the University of Limerick and Mary Immaculate College will then speak. Following the speeches, we will stand for the national anthem. In conclusion, our academics, along with our newly conferred graduates, will process out of the venue to end the proceedings. It's really important that you wait until staff instruct you when to leave your seat. Obviously, we only have a number of exits here. It is a fire hazard if we have lots of people clustering around an exit. I know everybody's mad to get out for their photographs and their lovely lunch, but we do try and exit in an orderly fashion. And please wait until the processing party has actually left the room before you leave. Now, we have refreshments here on campus up in the foundation building, which is the building up on the South Circular Road. The refreshments are in the holla and the canteen, so we would be delighted if you would join us there. And don't forget to return your gown before you leave the campus. Now, just to run through what actually happens for the graduates. During their conferring, each graduate will be called by name to receive their parchment. So firstly, can I ask all the graduates to check that they're in the right seat? Because we call people in order of where your seat is. So just make sure you're in the right seat. Staff will assist you, showing you where to go. And I'm just going to show really what you have to do. So this is Katie. She's my right-hand woman. She's going to come up on stairs. She's a student today getting her parchment. She walks up on the podium. Up you come, Katie. She walks across here to Carrie. Carrie is standing in for Professor Kirsten May, the University of Limerick. Katie gets her parchment. Well done, Katie. Shakes the president's hand. Well done, Katie. She then turns to face the photographer, and that's the real key bit, because sometimes people just grab their bit of paper and run off the stage, and we don't get the chance to take the lovely photo, which is the memento of the day. Well done, Katie. Congratulations to you. And thanks indeed to Carrie as well. Okay. Should your parchment be in need of amendment, please email Student Academic Administration in the next week and we'll get you another parchment. Each of you has received a conferring booklet. It's on your chair. There's a number of awards listed which will be presented at our annual awards ceremony in November. But please take the conferring booklet with you. It's a lovely memento to have of the day. For all the tweeters, Facebookers, TikTokers, Instagrammers, we'll be using the hashtag MICgraduation, and we'd be delighted if you do likewise. Images and videos from the various ceremonies will be available to view after the event on MIC's social media accounts. Finally, could I ask everybody to turn off their mobile phone or put them on silent? It really disturbs somebody's moment if there's a phone ringing when it's their big moment to come up on stage. We will commence shortly, and I hope you have a wonderful, memorable day and that you enjoy every minute of it. Goramila Mahagav Galer.
please stand for the academic procession?
Good morning. I call upon the college chaplain, Father Michael Wall, to read the conferring blessing.
Schlucht as liturne pól cig na hefisig. Sinnéan fó a dhéimar mar glúine, I bhíneise an ahar ón nan mítar gach clown nabh agus talamh. Go dtuga sé díobh as olbachas a glóra, go bhaigh sibh neart agus cumas in bhénach trín spirit. Go méid Christ bhó grí trí credibh, agus go méid sibh préomhathe agus bunathe sa grá, lí go bhéidigh sibh féin agus an níomh go léir, ad agus lehead, agus irda agus dainas a hiiscint. Go gurigh sibh ólas a grá Christ atá as chun tuiscine, agus go líon for sibh den líon bhreacht umláin dé. Lord an téúd a féidir ó I bhad níos mó a dhéanamh, ná mar a dtíorfaimiisne nó smuoineh féin Tríd an cócht atá ag obair onning, glór go raibh gas an agris agus I Christ, Isa ó rún go dlún, go brach na brethe. Amen.
I am pleased to call upon the President of the University of Limerick, Professor Kirsten May, to formally convene a meeting of the University for the purpose of conferring academic awards.
President, Mary Immaculate College, members of the Mary Immaculate College Governing Authority and trustees, member of Ancola Acadul, faculty members, distinguished guests, families, friends, and graduates of the class of 2022. A meeting of the university is hereby convened for the purpose of conferring academic awards. Exercising the power granted to the University of Limerick by Oireachtas Éireann, I hereby confer awards of the University of Limerick on the graduates of the Faculty of Education. Students not present are hereby conferred in absentia.
I am pleased to call on the chairperson of the Governing Authority of Mary Immaculate College, Bishop Brendan Leahy, to make an address of welcome.
President of the University of Limerick, Professor Kirsten May, Provost and Deputy President of the University of Limerick, Professor Shane Kilcummin, trustees of the college, members of An Tuaidh Rialaithe, college staff and students, distinguished guests, parents, family, friends, and graduates of the class of 2022. It is my very great pleasure as chairman of An Tuaidh Rialaithe of Mary Immaculate College to welcome you here to this conferring ceremony. Tá an áthas ó chrí orm céad míle fáilte a chuir riamh gach éine an sa. Is speisialte an ócáidí seo go háirithe dó siúd atá ag buint gradam an jobh, dinim chógáda Steve go léir. In congratulating the graduating class of 2022, I greet your families and relations, many of them linked virtually with us. Of course, some virtually linked here already with the Overflow Hall, you're very much with us, and then others linked with us through streaming. And we know that the parents' relations, as indeed all of us, are rightly proud of the graduates today here. I also greet those others joining us in various ways, the academic staff who have generously accompanied you to this day. I'm delighted they're here, so many of them, and I know they have really put their heart and soul into accompanying you with the fruits of their labours today, as well as the professional services staff, those in student support services, student union representatives, those involved in the chaplaincy service and other college services who have worked with great dedication for you. I'm grateful to the college president here for his wise leadership, Professor Eugene Wall, but I'm very much mindful also of our debt of gratitude to various other people who are part of our, as it were, extended family, in particular, of course, the University of Limerick, under whose auspices we are here today. I've already greeted Professor Kirsten May, and I want also to greet the Provost and Deputy President, newly appointed, and who's here with us for the first time, Professor Shane Kilcummin. You're very, very welcome. We're delighted you're here. Graduation Day, of course, reminds us of also the links we have with the HEA, the Department of Education, and many others. It's a big day. It's a day of the Lord. It's a day to come, saying thanks. I've reached this day. I've got to this point. You, your families have been with you, and you're a group that have had to unexpectedly, as it were, adapt to a very different condition to what you might have expected because of COVID. So I salute you because you've shown resilience, adaptability, and patience. These are wonderful gifts and attributes. The philosopher Kierkegaard says, we understand life looking backwards, but we must live it looking forwards. Certainly on a day like today, before we move into the actual graduation and the conferring, it's good to just take a brief moment, look back. These 3-4 years, whatever I've been here, what did I understand about myself? What were key moments? What have I to be grateful for in particular? But also then to look forward. So that's something we do today on graduation day. And I'd like to just simply invite you to widen the context for a moment on this graduation day. The world is going through a dramatic situation. The war in Ukraine has brought war back onto a continent that went through 2 world wars. We thought they were past. But there are so many wars now raging around globe, not just Ukraine, Yemen, Syria, Afghanistan, Central Republic in Africa, many parts. So many wars that Pope Francis says we're going through a world war piecemeal. There is an escalation, not just in the war zones, but in general culture, escalation in sentiments of hostility, violence, hatred. Pope Francis about the war says, every war leaves our world worse than it was before. War is a failure of politics and of humanity, a shameful capitulation, a stinging defeat before the forces of evil. And alongside the war, you know it only too well, there's many issues today that are causing social anxiety. The issues to do with the environment, the economic and social pressures that many people feel themselves under today. And then there's great talk of even atomic weapons. This is something we haven't heard for decades. So this is the context in which you're coming out as graduates, and we need to recognize we can't be indifferent or neutral about what's going on. And in his project for a global compact for education, Pope Francis invites all of us to rediscover what's education for. In its deepest dimension, it's directed towards creating a new world, a better world, a world at peace, a world of fraternity, where the human person is at the center. So you are graduating from this Catholic college in a strong mercy tradition. Remember the great founders, the Mercy Sisters, that aspires to make its own the values enshrined in this project of a global compact for education. And as well as that, of course, the education goals of the United Nations 2030 Sustainable Developmental Goals. You're part of a vast project. There are some 216,000 Catholic schools attended by over 60 million pupils, 1,750 Catholic universities with 11 million students around the world. Together, we can make a difference. Together with others, we can form a global compact for peace. So as you're getting ready for this moment, this great, great moment, I invite you as a graduate here today, inside yourself, to make a commitment. I will dedicate myself, my learning, my studies, my success, my achievements, my talents, my dreams, to the service of the promotion of peace, reconciliation, and care of the planet, our common home. We can't grow resigned to war. We can't let others grow resigned to war. We all need to sow those seeds of peace and reconciliation. So the world is waiting for your unique contribution as unique tile in a mosaic. Don't disappoint it. You've shown great resilience here. You've achieved much. This is a proud day. So go forth now. Make a difference in your future lives. The world is in your hands. Once again, congratulations to each and every one of you and your parents, your families. Ber bua agus benacht.
I call upon the Assistant Dean of the Faculty of Education, Dr. Angela Canny, to present the candidates for the conferring of undergraduate and taught postgraduate awards in education.
President, the Academic Council of the University has been satisfied that the following candidates are worthy to be conferred with undergraduate and taught postgraduate awards. Therefore, I present the candidates and request you to confer the awards on them.
So this morning we're starting with the Bachelor of Education program, and the first graduate to the podium is Eva Arthur. Well done, Eva. Alan Baker. Cora Bannon. Rebecca Banville. Ava Barrett. Lisa Barry. Orla Barry. Sean Barry. Dan Barry Murphy. Aisling Bauman. Connor Byrne. Elke Bergen. Erin Blunt. Aoife Boland. Emily Bolster. Ellen Bolton. Emer Boyce. Murren Boyce. Damien Boyle. Colm Bernach. Tara Breen. Breed Brennan. Laura Brennan. Surika Brennan. Jenny Brew Dinan. Colin Broderick. Emer Broderick. Elisha Broderick. Francis Broderick. Katerina Broderick. Kiva Brogan. Matthew Brophy. Mairead Brosnan. Carol Buckley. Una Buckley. Anna Burke. Kieran Burke. Grania Burke. Niamh Burke. Bertie Butler. Megan Byrne. Niamh Byrne. Francis Cadigan. Emer Cahill. Garode Cahill. Shane Cahill. Roisin Callanan. Emily Canny. Cueva Carmody. Chelsea Carroll. Evan Casey. Kayleen Shute. Marie Clancy. Avril Cleary. Noel Cliff. Joanna Cody. Shauna Coakley. Gillian Coleman. Noreen Collins. Tessa Collins. Evie Comer. Aisling Condon. Anya Connaughton. Eilish Conroy. Rachel Considine. Sean Conway. Thomas Corliss. Anna Corrie. Sarah Cotter. Maeve Cox. Claire Coyne. No. Darren Kramer. Emma Cretan. Crea Crowley. Grace Crowley. Aisling Culhan. Doira Cullinan. Saoirse Cummins. Adele Cunningham. Lucy Cunningham. Rachel Curran. Emma Curry. Stephen Curry. Emma Cuskelly. Claire Daly. Orla Daly. Shun Daly. Ella Davis. Maeve Deasy. Circa de Boraid. Leodon de Puer. Niamh Den. Kate Devereaux. Aoife Daigan. Siobhan Dillon. Emma Deneen. Aisling Deneen. Sorcha Deneen. Niamh Diskin. Aisling Donlan. Idel Doolan. Mark Downey. Simon Dragic. William Duddy. Aoife Duffy. Emer DeLay. Jane Dunn. Holly Dwyer. Jessica Dwyer. Alison Egan. Murren Egan. Victoria Enright. Maggie Fanning. Megan Farrell. Ciara Fitzgerald. Ciara Margaret Fitzgerald. Dylan Fitzgerald. Jessica Fitzgerald. Ava Fitzmaurice. Anya Fitzpatrick. Rachel Fitzpatrick. Cathal Flannery. Kate Flavin. Shauna Fleming. Aoife Flynn. Patricia Foran. Andrea Ford. Eamon Foodie. Sean Frayne. Amy Gallagher. Grace Galvin. Niamh Garahy. Niamh Gavigan. Niamh Gagan. Sophie Gilborn. Amy Gleeson. Bernadette Gleeson. Emer Gleeson. Megan Gleeson. Anya Glennon. Anna Glynn. Lillian Glynn. Dara Goulding. Owen Grace. Laura Grady. Anya Graham. Clara Griffin. Micheál Griffin. David Gubbins. Laura Guilfoyle. Nathan Guilfoyle. Ciarán Guinan. Mia Halligan. Cueva Hannafin. Niamh Hanbury. Caoimhe Harney. Amy Harper. Mark Haid. Aoife Hayes. Rachel Hayes. Ciara Hagney. Aisling Healy. Grania Heafy. Clodagh Hegarty. Claire Hennerbury. Jane Henry. Orla Henry. Margaret Heslin. Mary Kate Hilliard. Rachel Hinchy. Fiona Hoare. Jane Holland. Jonathan Horgan. Ciara Hughes. Ciara Irwin. Niamh Jenkins. David Jones. Cathal Kavanagh. Chloe Kavanagh. Alva Keady. Rebecca Keane. Christina Carney. Clodagh Carney. Fergal Carney. Alina Keaveney. Roisin Kelly. Gemma Keneally. Aisling Kennedy. Gerard Kennedy. Lucy Kennedy. Niamh Kennedy. Susanna Keohane. Hayley Kiley. Roisin Killeen. Alva King. Robin Kerwin. Joanna Knowles. Alexandra Kobielkowska. Sive Lally. Emer Lanigan. Teresa Larkin. Joseph Lavin. Kyle Leahy. Lucy Linehan. Emer Long. Caoimhe Lowry. Roisin Lynham. Ella Lynch. Joe Lynch. Kevin Mahoney. Louise Macomb. Katie Manicle. Ivana Mansfield. Vanessa Marley. Owen Marinan. Sarah Marinan. Elaine Martin. Shannon Monsell Cronin. Breed McCarthy. Quiva McCarthy. Cleona McCarthy. Cormac McCarthy. Emily McCarthy. James McCarthy. Katie McCarthy. Sarah McCarthy. Cara McDonough. Kathleen McElligott. Roisin McElligott. Grania Maloney. Jessica Maloney. Maeve Niguneen. Patrick O'Donovan. Lizzie Perry. Aisling Ryan. Kieran Ryan. And Linda Tracy. So big round of applause for all our Bachelor of Education graduates today. What a marathon that was. Well done to you all. Lots of new moon tours. Bachelor of Arts Education Studies Level 7, this candidate is conferred in absentia, and we move on to the Bachelor of Arts in Education Studies Level 8. And the first candidate here is David Burke. Well done, David. And our second candidate is Lishna Nigir. Well done, Lishna. Diploma in Education Studies, this candidate is conferred in absentia. And now we move on to the Bachelor of Arts in Early Childhood Care and Education. And our first candidate this morning is Tara Ahern. Morgan Ray Armstrong. Catherine Bennett. Rebecca Callanan. Niamh Canning. Sarah Canny. Clodagh Carey. Sive Clifford. Kinga Conde Versheni. Aisling Maria Conlon. Amy Marie Crowley. Alison Kineen. Clodagh Cunningham. Jessica Curley. Eileen Daly. Megan Deedigan. Cueva Delaney. Molly Dolan. Kathleen Maria Dorr. Nicole Downey. Leah Doyle. Magella Flynn. Courtney Forkin. Sonia Hanrahan. Emma Harrington. Cueva Saoirse Hayden. Cueva Hayes Kelly. Emily Hogan. Rebecca Kane. Cueva Kavanagh. Brona Keating. Emily Kelleher. Claire Kennington. Jennifer Malone. Roisin McCauley. Rachel McCarthy. Niamh McCourt. Audrey Patricia McDermott. Maeve McGrath. Kelly Dymphna Maguire. Suzanne McNamara. Jane Minahan. Chloe Moran. Tara Muldowney. Holly Mulkeen. Orla Mulreed. Hannah Munnelly. Gemma Murphy. Aoife Ní Chuaillán. Alana O'Donnell. Orla O'Dwyer. Emer Marie O'Mahony. Angel O'Malan. Michelle O'Neill. Aoife O'Shaughnessy. Tara Ellen O'Shea. Shannon O'Sullivan. Gráinne Phelan. Mary Power. Ciara Quinn. Orla Quinn. Sadie May Rowe. Natasha Ryan. Owen Mihal Saunders O'Mara. Sarah Scanlon. Katie Scannell. Lucy Schneider. Amy Kate Shanahan. Olivia Shanahan. Christina Sherry. Emma Sweeney. Maria Tarpey. Teresa Toolin. Brian Ward. Maureen Ita Wogan. And finally, Emily Kelleher. Cóthardachas, everyone on the BA, Early Childhood, well done to you all. Congratulations, class of 2022. We now move on to our Professional Master of Education, Primary Teaching, and our first graduand this morning is Emma Ambrose. Paul Barry. Michael Begley. Hannah Birmingham. Emer Bowler. Shona Brazel. Ailish Carr. Sive Clancy. Megan Cohen. Emily Corcoran. Niamh Costello. Emma Daly. Miriam Daly. Jessica Dobson. Claire Dunleavy. Ciara Louise Egan. Anya Evans. Catherine Finnerty. Jessica Flaherty. Roisin Ford. Rachel Gallagher. Nasa Gibbons. Nicole Gleeson. Padraig Griffin. Aoife Healy. Roisin Howard. Julianne Hurley. Nisha Carney. Aisling Kelly. Bavin Kennelly. Emer Kiley. Deirdre King. Circa Langford. Morella Tehan Leahy Tehan. Well done, Morella. Sarah Lenan. Congratulations, Sarah. Cogardacus. John McCarthy. Murren McDade. Leisha McDonough. Trassa McGrath. Lauren McMahon. Cathal McNamara. Christine Moran. Kira Moriarty. Hazel Mulqueen. Niamh Murphy. Orla Nichanila. Sinead Nikiona. Cleona O'Brien. Padraig O'Donnell. Shane O'Driscoll. Niamh O'Gorman. Niamh O'Sullivan. Timmy Roberts. Una Ryan. David Seal. Fiona Shannon. Nicole Talty. And Quiva Tracy. Big round of applause for our Professional Masters of Education in Primary Teaching. Congratulations. Now we move on to our Certificate in Professional Mentoring for Early Childhood Practice, and our first graduate this morning is Nicola Acton Dormer. Saoirse Doheny. Paula Guckian. Emily Louise Guilfoyle. Louise Carney. Kelly Lyons. Lucy Madigan. No. Laura. At last, it's Laura McGurl. Well done, Laura. Colette McNally. No. Lelia Murphy. Well done. Anne Price. Right, so finally we move on to our Masters of Education in Leadership of Wellbeing in Education, and our first graduate this morning is Breed Enright. Sean Flanagan. Anna Hurley. Mary Kennedy. Aoife Loftus. Rochelle Maharaj. Anne Reynolds. Isabel Ruan. Mary Kate Ryan. Emma Tarrant. Orla Thornton. Okay, so a big round of applause for our Master of Education in Leadership and Wellbeing in Education. Congratulations to all of you. Dr. Angela Canny, Assistant Dean of the Faculty of Education, will now present the candidates for the doctoral degrees by research and thesis.
President, the Academic Council of the University has been satisfied that the following candidates are worthy to be conferred with doctoral degrees by research and thesis in education. Therefore, I present the candidates and request you to confer the awards on them.
The Professional Doctorate in Educational and Child Psychology. The doctoral candidates will be presented with their caps by their supervisors. The doctoral candidates will then be presented with their parchments by the President of the University of Limerick. Dr. Ronan Cunningham has successfully undertaken a programme of study and research under the supervision of Dr. Margaret Farrelly, MIC. The title of the thesis is Father Engagement with Disability Services, the Perceptions and Experiences of Fathers and Psychologists. Dr. Cunningham will now be presented with his cap by Dr. Margaret Farrelly. Well done. Dr. Sophie Gallagher has successfully undertaken a programme of study and research under the joint supervision of Dr. Trevor O'Brien and Dr. Mark Scully, MIC. The title of the thesis is Refugee and Asylum Seeker Youth Experiences of Education in Ireland, an Interpretive Phenomenological Analysis. The doctoral candidate will now be presented with her cap by Dr. Trevor O'Brien. Lots of hugs on graduation day. Well done. Dr. Maria Holland has successfully undertaken a programme of study and research under the supervision of Dr. Joanna Fitzgerald, MIC. The title of the thesis is Getting into the Nucleus of the School, Experiences of Collaboration between Special Educational Needs Coordinators, Senior Leadership Teams and Educational Psychologists in Irish Post-Primary Schools. The doctoral candidate will now be presented with her cap by Dr. Joanna Fitzgerald. Dr. Liz Lane has successfully undertaken a programme of study and research under the supervision of Dr. Michelle Dunleavy, MIC. The The title of the thesis is School Life Following Acquired Brain Injury, an interpretive phenomenological analysis of the experiences of adolescents, their parents and teachers in the Irish context. Dr. Lane will now be presented with her cap by Dr. Michelle Dunleavy. Well done. Here we go. The joys of being so tall. Beautifully tall. Well done. Dr. Lydia Mannion has successfully undertaken a programme of study and research under the joint supervision of Dr. Maurice Harman and Dr. Trevor O'Brien, MIC. The title of the thesis is Exploring the Relationships Between Psychological Wellbeing, Religiosity and Religious Coping Amongst Adolescents at Senior Cycle Level in Irish Primary Schools, an Empirical Inquiry. The doctoral candidate will now be presented with her cap by Dr. Maurice Harman. Dr. Caoimhe McCarthy has successfully undertaken a programme of study and research under the joint supervision of Dr. Margaret Egan and Dr. Keely White, MIC. The title of the thesis is All Singing Off the Same Hymn Sheet, an exploration of the lived experiences of joint work between Irish primary schools, school staff and school psychologists to facilitate inclusion between 2015 and 2020. The doctoral candidate will now be presented with her cap by Dr. Margaret Egan. Well done. Dr. Alison McFadden has successfully undertaken a programme of study and research under the joint supervision of Dr. Fionnuala Tynan, MIC, and Dr. John Perry, UL. The title of the thesis is Test Anxiety and the Effectiveness of a School-Based Intervention at Primary Level. Dr. McFadden will now be presented with her cap by Dr. Fionnuala Tynan. Better get the bit of paper first. Well done. Great stuff. Dr. Kate O'Brien has successfully undertaken a programme of study and research under the supervision of Dr. Orla Slattery, Dr. Niamh Kitching and Dr. Richard Bowles, MIC. The title of the thesis is An Appreciative Inquiry into Coaches' Perspectives on the Inclusion of Young People with Autism in Sports Clubs in Ireland. Dr. O'Brien will now be presented with her cap by Dr. Orla Slattery. Yeah, we'll be here all day. Well done. And last but by no means least, on the deck side this morning, we have Dr. Sarah Jane O'Shea, who has successfully undertaken a programme of study and research under the supervision of Dr. Laura Ambrose, MIC. The title of the thesis is The Effectiveness of an Online Dialogic Reading Intervention for Improving the Oral Language Skills of Children Attending a Deaf School in Ireland. Dr. O'Shea will now be presented with her cap by Dr. Laura Ambrose. I think a big round of applause for all our PhD students this morning, and indeed for the supervisors and the Faculty of Education, done an amazing job. I now have the great pleasure introducing our special awards, and the first award this morning is the College Gold Medal on the Bachelor of Education programme. The Gold Medal is awarded to the graduate who achieved first place on the Bachelor of Education programme. The President of MIC will present this medal, and the recipient this year is Jane Henry. Well done, Jane. Smile for the camera. Next, we have the College Gold Medal on the Bachelor of Arts in Early Childhood Care and Education programme. The medal is awarded to the graduate who achieved first place on the Bachelor of Arts in Early Childhood Care and Education programme. And I call upon the President of MIC to present this medal to Clodagh Carey. Well done. The College Gold Medal on the Professional Masters of Education Primary Teaching. This medal is awarded to the graduate who achieved first place on the Professional Masters of Education Primary Teaching programme. The President of MIC will present this medal, and the recipient this year is Emma Ambrose. Well done, Emma. We next move to the Certificate in Religious Education. We have two awards here this morning. These gold medals are presented to the graduates of our three initial teacher education programmes who are awarded first place in the Certificate in Religious Education, which is a special Level 8 Special Purpose Award. I call upon Bishop Brendan Leahy to present these medals. The first recipient this morning from the Bachelor of Education programme is Breed Brennan. Well done. And the recipient from the Professional Master of Education programme, Primary Teaching, is Una Ryan. Our final award this morning is the Pader Cremen Fellowship. This fellowship is awarded by the college in memory of the late Professor Pader Cremen, President of Mary Immaculate College from 1999 to 2011. It is presented to the graduate who achieved first place in educational research and the dissertation modules on the Bachelor of Education programme. And I call upon Mrs. Ornia Cremen to present this award, and the recipient this year is Rebecca Banville. Oh, well done. Now, busy morning, I now call upon Professor Kirsten May, President of the University of Limerick, to make her address.
Accorda ile, Kate Mille Falche. Firstly, I would like to thank President Professor Eugene Wall and everyone at Mary Immaculate College for the very warm welcome here today. As President of University of Limerick, it gives me great pleasure to address you, the graduates of the class of 2022, trustees, members of An Tudaras Rilaha, members of An Corolla Akadul, and colleagues, and indeed all invited guests on your graduation ceremony. Graduates, may I offer you the warmest of congratulations on completing this hugely important part of your learning journey. I'm sure you will agree that your journey through education has been exciting, challenging, and indeed not without a great deal of effort, commitment, and perseverance. However, today you are celebrating the fact that you have excelled academically, and all while we have faced some of the darkest and most challenging days in recent history. The tapestry of our society is facing more challenges day by day, and for many of us, those challenges have become the ever-present backdrop to normality in our lives. Succeeding in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic and its aftermath cannot be underestimated, as it shows tenacity, focus, and strength of character for each and every one of you to be graduating here today. Graduates, be proud of your accomplishment, and I'm sure your family, your friends, your tutors, and your peers share in that pride. This occasion brings with it many reasons to celebrate and indeed to look to the future. But before we look to the future, we look back at our history. We remember how we started as both pioneers and entrepreneurs and ended up as leaders. Our agility in responding to the challenges of our time and our academic award will allow you become the leaders, pioneers, and entrepreneurs that will drive societal change for the better. Receiving your degree closes one chapter in your life by also opening the pages for new beginnings. At this time of new beginnings, we are asking ourselves many questions to sense and feel, consider and conjure up our future. Circumstances of the most recent past have brought into sharp focus the many global challenges we now face: climate change and planetary health, the war in Europe adding to the ongoing military conflicts worldwide and carrying the real potential of expanding into a global conflagration, mass migration, and significant challenges to human rights and social justice, while we continue to face extreme changes to energy, water, and food security, and experience the impact of severely disrupted supply chains. It is clear that we simply cannot be passive about our future, and thinking 5 to 10 years ahead is too short-sighted. We need viable long-term plans as well as concrete actions in the here and now that make a difference. Graduates, you have a chance to make a difference, and you are equipped to do so thanks to the knowledge, skills, and experience you have attained during your time at Mary Immaculate College. Technological and societal changes happen at an accelerated pace and have taken on disruptive and transformational qualities. Yet their outcomes and impacts are not yet defined, and neither is our future. Therefore, we all carry the responsibility to shape how we live and socialize, how we work and engage to ensure that the next generations can thrive and prosper too. And as the 30 months of the COVID pandemic have demonstrated, we will be stronger and achieving more when acting together with humanity, compassion, and solidarity. My hope, and the hope of your institution, is that we continue to harness the power of talent, imagination, and partnerships to advance society as necessary, and through many small steps, literally change the world. Mary Immaculate College and University of Limerick continue to strive for excellence in research and education to address societal challenges regionally, nationally, and globally, and to shape a thrivable world. A thrivable world means a world that enables the future evolution of humankind and the respective stewardship for the planet, all life on Earth, and engagement for the common good. This future is still within our grasp, but only just. Therefore, to you, the graduates of today, the advice that I would like to give you for your future is that sustainability has to be the bedrock of any development and enterprise. As a guiding principle, sustainability has to direct everything we do. It is imperative that we take responsibility for sustainability very seriously. And graduates, I urge you to take that vision and responsibility and mirror it where possible in your lives. As students, both past and present, we have the power to contribute massively to our communities. Learners of all ages and stages need to focus on inquisitiveness and the imagination. We all have to develop an ability to live with ambiguity and to embrace complexity, to adapt and change. And above all, we have to learn and develop throughout the whole of our lives. Graduates, for all of you here today, the achievement of graduating has been hard-earned through dedication and focus and some degree of self-sacrifice. You have been helped on your journey to this point by a network of supporters. Now, graduates, take a moment to thank your parents and guardians, your partners and family, your friends and supporters, as well as the members of Mary Immaculate College, lecturers, academic and technical support staff, and administrators, all of whom are very proud of your accomplishments. To conclude, I will offer you this. Be cognizant of your own self-worth, your growth potential, and your ability to achieve. And crucially, determine what success means for you. Savor the short-term accomplishments, but be mindful of your long-term aspirations and fulfillment, professionally and personally, and all the while think carefully about your priorities and about what you can give to others and how you can influence the communities you live and work in. Indeed, it is heartwarming to see that the future is in safe hands when I look out in this gathering, and safe in the knowledge that when life does become uncertain, you will always find comfort and sustenance from the achievements that we mark in your graduation here today. Graduates, feel tall, be proud, savor and relish the achievements of today, and go out into the world to make a change. Many congratulations and thank you very much. Congratulations, live Goler, Agos Goromilavat.
I now call upon Professor Eugene Wall, President of Mary Immaculate College, to make his conferring address.
President of the University of Limerick, Professor Kirsten May, Bishop Brendan Leahy, members of the trustees and Tudros Rila of Mary Immaculate College, Provost and Deputy President of the University of Limerick, Professor Shane Kilcommon, President of the MISU, the Students' Union, Aoife Gleeson, college staff and students and distinguished guests, and not to mention parents, friends, family and graduates of the class of 2022. Faram fair Queen Fáilte Roy Velig, Goodie Sharmanas Bronton Lay and you. Smorgum Vorguluder an Law Specialta Dar Gwyd Maclean. As many of you will know, this year marks the 50th anniversary of the foundation of the University of Limerick. I'd very much like to congratulate Professor May and her colleagues on attaining this wonderful milestone. UL began as NIHE Limerick back in 1972. That was the same year I set out for college in UCD. UCD was a very different place at that time with just over 10,000 students, which is less than 1/3 of its present numbers. The Belfield campus was less than 10 years old, and the iconic Arts, Commerce and Law building had opened just 2 years previously. The aura in the Arts block, as it was popularly known then, was vaguely elitist, although not oppressively exclusive. A number of the lecturing staff, such as Dr. Garrett Fitzgerald, who later became Taoiseach, were eminent public figures, and an unnerving number of the students exuded an impression, quite rightly as it later transpired, that they were headed for greater things in life. There was no sports centre at that time. The dressing rooms under Belfield House were dingy and stark. Imagine my surprise one Saturday morning when myself and a couple of friends found ourselves sharing a dressing room with Eamon Coughlin, who at that stage was the holder of 3 world indoor mile records. Until 1978, UCD boasted the only synthetic running track in the country. And as you made your way from the dressing rooms to the running track, you'd pass by the Rose Garden. The Rose Garden was dedicated as a memorial garden 7 years ago in 2015, after 3 UCD students died in Berkeley, California, when the balcony that they were standing on collapsed. And I think many of you will recall that. One of the 4 benches in the inner circle is dedicated to the memory of those students. A second bench commemorates the life of Michael Byrne, or Old Man Belfield, as he was fondly known by the campus community. Michael was a homeless man who lived, by choice, it would appear, for the most part outdoors, in the grounds of the Belfield campus for more than 30 years, until his body was discovered there in a sleeping bag in January 2021. Dressed in multiple layers of clothing with long white hair and a matching beard, he was a familiar and a distinctive figure. Although he was a reclusive person who rarely spoke or interacted with anyone, he was held in great affection by the staff and students, and his lonely death prompted an outpouring of sadness. As a recent documentary on One programme on RTE discovered, after a fruitless search, virtually nothing is known about his pre-Belfield life or identity, apart from the date of his birth. And that was established because a local family for many years had collected his social welfare money for him. Stories abound about fleeting encounters with him as he roved about the campus and the locality. One particularly poignant account describes how he emerged from nowhere one night to protect a young woman from attack, and then accompanied her back to safety before disappearing quietly again into his solitary world. One of the other benches has an inscription on it from James Joyce's novel Finnegan's Wake. It reads, "They lived and laughed and loved and left." And the meaning of this sentence would seem to be entirely appropriate for the setting, and it's sometimes found in sympathy cards. However, if you browse through Joyce's inscrutable prose in the original, which I did for the purpose of this speech, it doesn't exclude other speculative interpretations. Had it not been for the manner in which the COVID pandemic disrupted and curtailed your college experience, it just might have served as a poetic description of your time here. But such was not to be. When you first embarked on your studies, you could not have suspected what lay ahead or how your college experience would be spoiled and undermined. Even as we entered the first lockdown in March 2020, little did we realise the seismic disruption that was about to unfold and the damaging impact that it would have on your college experience. Your accomplishment in graduating here today is all the more creditable because you achieved this under the most extraordinary circumstances and in the face of so much adversity. Through your adaptability, your resilience, and your resourcefulness, you have achieved your goal of graduating with your degree, and all of us at MIC share your pride, as each of the speakers have said. As your alma mater, my colleagues and I extend our warmest congratulations to you, our class of 2022, for arriving at this major milestone in your lives. Watersheds such as this are meant to be savoured in the company of other people. It hasn't been possible for us to do that fully in the last few years. And then later cherished in memory as emotional landmarks along your life's journey. The spectacle, the pomp, the regalia of graduation ceremony, rooted in long tradition, signify the importance of what's happening for you, our graduates, for your families, and indeed for the college itself. We're delighted we were able to resume full-in graduation ceremonies this year, for the first time, so that your families and friends can share in the celebratory atmosphere and proudly bask in your achievement. As other speakers have said, arriving at your academic destination today is unlikely to have been a solitary accomplishment. And perhaps you would express your gratitude for those family members and friends who assisted and encouraged you along the way with a round of applause. As you're well aware, the COVID pandemic wreaked havoc with our social world and our personal lives for much of the last 2 years. Looking back to the early stages in 2020, with the seemingly endless lockdowns, the 2-kilometre limits, the 5-kilometre limits, deserted streets, shuttered businesses, restaurants and churches, restrictions on hospital visits and funeral attendance, closed borders, no live entertainment, social distancing, and not being able to hug or touch people. It's difficult not to be struck by how surreal all of this upheaval now seems, as well as the omnipresent anxiety and stress for so many people, the fear that either they or their loved ones would contract the disease. Today, the number of COVID-19 related deaths in Ireland stands at just under 8,000. For some people, the pandemic brought heartbreak. Others experienced acute isolation and loneliness, and for some, it gave rise to more serious mental health problems. And as we lurched from month to month, struggling to come to terms with the new topsy-turvy Kafkaesque reality, there was always the infuriating uncertainty about when would it all end. Given the unpredictability of this particular coronavirus, it would be foolhardy to predict the future course of the disease with certainty. However, the pandemic has now become an endemic, and for many reasons, it poses a far lower threat than at the peak. Unlike when a war ends, there's been no formal declaration, although it's 8 months to the day that virtually all restrictions were removed in Ireland on the 28th of February last. By that stage, almost 2 years into the pandemic in Ireland and punch-drunk from its relentless impact on our lives, we moved into the current phase, more, I would say, with exhausted relief than with outright celebration. Thankfully, we've moved on, and daily life has, for the most part, renormalised. And it's wonderful, absolutely wonderful, to be here today to celebrate and to look forward with positivity. Even at this remove, it's difficult to accurately document the far-reaching extent of the damaging effects brought on by the pandemic, let alone hint at some of the positive outcomes, and indeed there have been some. The economic effects of the pandemic, although cushioned significantly by state subventions, are still playing out. The immediate COVID impact on inflation through broken supply chains has now been overtaken by a cost of living crisis that's due in large measure to the economic consequences of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Times like this bring forth many false prophets. Many people have speculated, sometimes wildly and inaccurately, about how life after COVID would be permanently transformed. And indeed, there have been many changes around social engagement, around work-life balance, flexible working patterns, and other lifestyle changes that have continued. It'll take time for the new order to take change and for us to identify what are the forever changes rather than the transient ones. The psychological scars of what we've been through have yet to be fully documented. Both anecdotal and research evidence are clear that there has been an increase in mental health problems, particularly amongst young people and children. The demand on counselling services in higher education institutions rose steadily during the COVID era. A COVID-19 survey carried out by the ESRI in December 2020 reported that 4 in 10 22-year-old men and over half, 55%, of 22-year-old women were classified as depressed. Some recent American research suggests that people's experiences during COVID may have contributed significantly to longer-term negative personality changes, particularly in younger people and especially in the later stages of the crisis. However, I think it's unwise to read too much into that research because it's based on the United States. and the pre-existing polarization of American society intensified during the COVID period, and people's experiences of conflict and the lack of social solidarity, as we know, can greatly affect their resilience and their capacity to cope. In Ireland, thankfully, people's experiences were less fractured and polarised. In May of this year, the World Bank, UNESCO and UNICEF described the COVID-19 pandemic as the worst education crisis on record. A crisis that has left all sectors of education, from early childhood education to higher education, reeling. Abundant research from countries throughout the world point to what's been termed a pandemic slide. This refers to the substantial achievement deficits in children's learning as a consequence of the enormous disruption of their education. According to research just published in the United States, the reading and math scores of 4th and 8th grade pupils fell, with the decline in mathematics showing the largest ever decline. Another report from 2 weeks ago states that despite an extraordinary level of support by the federal government during the pandemic, schools are still 500 billion, I'll repeat that figure, 500 billion short of what's needed to address unprecedented levels of learning loss. The author of the report, Matthew Steinberg, goes on to state that although the investment in relief funding was incredible in scale, it pales in comparison to the negative effect on the economy if a generation of children do not recover from what this pandemic has done to them academically. You're very familiar with the disruption of the state exam system in Ireland and the implications of that for entry to higher education. However, in the absence of reliable achievement data for pupils in Irish school, it has to be honestly acknowledged that we simply don't know accurately the level of learning loss due to COVID-19, or indeed the implications. Some children did in fact thrive during the periods of lockdown. I know that from watching my grandchildren when I was able to go and see them eventually. 2 of them actually learned to read at home during the pandemic. And talking the other night to some of our PhD students at dinner, they remarked that in fact in some cases it allowed families to come together and spend a lot more intensive quality time with them. So it's important to stress that. However, a significant minority of children endured high levels of stress and experienced serious issues with mental well-being. For some children, the closure of schools or the confinement of schooling to online learning starved them of the vital supports which schools typically provide, but which unfortunately often goes unrecognised. And on the positive side, the pandemic has underscored the crucial importance of teachers and early childhood educators in addressing not only the academic needs, but also, more holistically, their social and emotional well-being. The world of higher education continues to reinvent itself as we seek to balance the potential and enhancements of online learning with our renewed appreciation and understanding of the importance of in-person learning. Bullheaded predictions that in-person learning was in terminal decline have fallen foul of the reality that there's an experiential and relational dimension to going to college that is not going to be recreated by online learning alone. Unfortunately, and I think this has been noticed not only globally but nationally as well, student engagement levels have not returned to their pre-pandemic levels. This is a particular problem in Ireland, a problem that's exacerbated by the serious accommodation crisis that's causing hardship for many of our students. Over the past decades, Irish schools have been spared the sort of political tampering that has been a marked feature of what's happened in some other countries. The consultative processes through which the curriculum is developed in Ireland and the relative lack of political interference has led us to underappreciate how important this is and how it contrasts with what is happening in many other countries. Governments in totalitarian states fully realise the strategic importance of shaping young minds and controlling the means of doing that. In some cases, this involves heavy censorship of the media, and in other cases, it involves tight political control over what's taught in schools and down to the level of how it's taught. The current political polarisation in some parts of the United States over school governance and curriculum control, especially in the areas of social science and science, particularly around history, for example, and the teaching of evolution, It's playing out in rancorous exchanges and a media frenzy. Mask wearing mandates, vaccination requirements, and critical race theory all became flashpoints in the weaponisation of schooling. Fortunately, we haven't had the same experiences in Ireland, but, and I want to emphasise this, it's dangerously easy to underestimate how schools can become embroiled in political divisiveness. Chilling evidence of the pernicious effects of social media platforms in disseminating disinformation and in stoking political extremism and authoritarianism have received much attention in recent years. But their harmful effects on the psychological well-being of young people needs to be tackled. I recognise the many positive aspects of social media, but its destructive capacity to unleash some of the nastiest and vilest forces of nature is bewildering. A blight on contemporary social interaction, and most regrettably on political and social and cultural discourse, which has become diminished at best and thoroughly debased in the worst cases. As modern societies, we seem powerless and incapable of taming its destructiveness, cowed by the legitimate fear of curtailing free speech. I had an opportunity to have a discussion on this with the Austrian ambassador to Ireland there at a dinner when he was in Limerick there, and there was much concern about how do you balance up the censorship aspect of this and how that would affect some countries. Almost 10 years ago, early on the morning of the 14th of December 2012, Adam Lanza entered Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut, just about this time, American time, where he shot and killed 26 people, 20 of whom were children between 6 and 7 years old, and 6 of whom were adult staff members. The incident is the deadliest mass shooting in an elementary school in US history. Soon afterwards, Alec Jones, a conspiracy theorist, falsely alleged that the Sandy Hook massacre was a giant hoax involving actors, that no one had died, and that the parents had faked their own children's deaths. For years, Jones profited handsomely from his despicable lies, while the family's grief and trauma was compounded not only by the lies and the unrelenting harassment, but even by death threats from some of those who believed Jones's lies. You may have recently seen that Jones was ordered to pay the families of six of the children in excess of $960 million in the second of 2 court cases so far. That's troubling enough. But what's also troubling is that 18%, full 18% of the US population are reported to have believed his conspiracy theory, even beyond the point when Jones himself was admitting that they were lies. This is just one extreme illustration of the readiness of some sectors of the public to uncritically believe what they're told, irrespective of the evidence. And if you turn to the war in Ukraine as well, widespread public perceptions in Russia, which are supporting the war, are more complicated to understand because of the state-restricted exposure to a free and open media in that country. But what it clearly shows is the threat that's posed by mass disinformation. The post-truth phenomenon, where opinion takes precedence over factual accuracy, has been facilitated by social media, by partisan media outlets, and by those seeking to gain political advantage. I want to emphasize again, societies throughout the world face a serious threat from the spread of political extremism, a spread that's been fueled by the increasing prevalence and influence of misinformation and deliberate disinformation. Now, ostensibly, or outwardly anyway, your education here at MIC has been apolitical. There's no attempt here to steer you towards any political philosophy or towards any party political leanings. However, we do strive to instill in you certain values, such as respect for the dignity of the person and the search for truth in all facets of life. The education system, and you as education graduates, have a critical role to play in inculcating the values and ideals that are necessary to sustain a stable, democratic society. In a post-truth world, it's vital that pupils value truth over falsehood and deceit, and that they develop the critical skills to distinguish reason from unreason, propaganda and conspiracy theories. In democratic societies, schools should be a bulwark against populism and provide a measure of inoculation against demagoguery and political extremism. And this they can do by promoting civic values, developing critical thinking, and so on. Finland, a country whose education system is more famed for its academic standards, is also notable for the emphasis that it places on media education. In the Finnish education system, media literacy and media education form part of the national core curriculum at every level, from early childhood education and care onwards. Finnish students are taught to evaluate the truthfulness of information and how propaganda works. They learn about online behavior and develop skills to counteract many of the threats posed by social media. In fact, in the 2022 Media Literacy Index of 42 European countries, Finland ranked first, meaning that the country is ranked as having the highest potential to withstand the negative impact of fake news and misinformation. On a positive note, Ireland also ranks well. So I trust that the knowledge, the skills, the dispositions that you've acquired during your time here will serve you in good stead as professional educators in the years ahead. The pandemic has radically unsettled many of our taken for granted assumptions about how the world works and how schools should operate. It's unlocked many possibilities and established new priorities, making it an exciting and challenging time to be embarking on a career as a teacher or an early childhood educator. Graduates, my earnest wish for you is that the personal qualities and the characteristics that you've developed will be key assets in enabling you to flourish, both professionally and personally. And before concluding, I wish on your behalf to thank the Mary Immaculate College staff members from the two academic faculties here and the professional supports departments who've worked with you over these past years to help you arrive at this happy day. Their dedication and expertise has helped to transform you into the skilled, competent, aware individuals that you are today. Will you please join me in acknowledging their professionalism and commitment? You would not believe the amount of work and effort that goes into preparing this by people in the background. I can say that because I've only a limited involvement in doing that. The really heavy lifting is done by some of the other people behind the scenes, and this graduation and its success couldn't have happened without them. And speaking of that, one of our colleagues, Carrie Ryan, is retiring shortly, having worked in MIC for 42 years. She's been at the heart of every conferring ceremony here for the past 35 years. So I want to thank her for her outstanding dedication, her savoir-faire and her impeccable attention to detail, which have been the keystone of graduation ceremonies here in MIC since 1987. As I continue to conclude, I want to thank the University of Limerick, which has ratified your degrees and deemed your standard of achievement suitable for admission to the ranks of its graduates. I want to thank the President of the University, Professor May, and the Provost and Deputy President, Professor Shane Kilcullen, for their presence with us today. But I especially want to thank also Professor May for her continuing support for the relationship between MIC, which is thriving, and for her commitment to strengthening that relationship. For their contribution to today's ceremony, I want to thank in particular the mace bearer for the University of Limerick, John O'Neill, who's been with us for many years. John, where are you? And very visible up on the stage here, who I also want to thank, is Mary Darmody, who's our sign language interpreter. And finally, As this graduation draws to a close, let me, on behalf of your alma mater and all the staff here, wish you all the best for your lives and careers today and in the future. Go dugad í agah ra agus banartí vervor trosil, tá súla gon go mé lá jasagat.
As our ceremony draws to a close, I'd like to extend my gratitude to everyone involved in today's events. It's impossible to name them all. Eugene named a number there, but I'd also like to acknowledge the work of the Student Academic Administration team, the President's Office, Strategic Communications and Marketing, Buildings and Estates, ICT, and the Mary I Students' Union. We're really delighted to host your graduation ceremony today. We hope the next stage of your lives was hopefully as enjoyable, as positive as your time here at MIC has been. Please remain in your place until the academic procession leaves the venue, and we'll now stand for the national anthem. Class of 2022, Conferring.